What's up? Welcome into this Tuesday edition of Pushing the Pile, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Got a couple Monday Night Football, the doubleheader to recap. We have our vaunted Goldilocks segment on today's show where we break down Pete's power rankings, say who's too high, who's too low, and who's just right. And then we have our debate segment to wrap it up at the end. But let's start with that Monday night doubleheader.
Let's do that.
I don't know why do we have one this late in the season?
That was horrific. The whole day was terrible.
Torture.
The whole like NFL schedule goes out like the window the last 3 weeks here. It's going to be a disaster. We have like Saturday games coming up, then we have Wednesday games, then we have a Thursday game, and then another Saturday game.
It's an AAU football schedule.
Well, you know what it is? It's like they want to have every day. You know, normally you wouldn't see them playing on a Saturday when college football is being played. Mm-hmm. They don't care. They don't care anymore.
Yeah.
You know, the rule is you can't play on Friday night because of the high schools. Lights. But now they don't care. That's going out the window.
They don't care about the kids anymore.
Well,
they don't care about
high school's over most of the places.
They don't care about church. It happens on Sunday. They don't care about PTA meetings. It happens on Monday. They don't care about player safety. It happens on Thursday.
You know what they care about? Right here, baby.
What are your thoughts on, because I don't know did we discuss this yesterday on the 1 p.m. show?
We probably did. What is it?
But just about the NFL and their money grab and how, no, actually it was on Sunday night. I discussed it with Austin.
But yeah,
about how they're selling out. So to now watch every single game in the NFL, you have to have 4 different streaming services to be able to watch every single game that is played on the NFL calendar. You have
this one's on Prime. This one's on YouTube TV.
You have these island games sprinkled throughout more so than ever before. And I think the beauty of the NFL was that when you have a 5-game slate like we did this past Sunday in the 4 p.m., you can ignore a Patriots Cardinals. If it's the Thursday night game, you can't really ignore the Patriots Cardinals if you're, an NFL fan, because most NFL fans, they want to watch every game. But then you get diminishing returns. The more island games you have, the more opportunity there is for those games to not be good games and for you to be turning it off in the third quarter. Yeah. And when you turn it off in the third quarter, you tend to be like it gives you almost like a worse taste in your mouth to watch a bad game more and more and more. And I just think the way the NFL is going with trying to bite off as many island games as possible, you just risk, and especially when you have to buy now all these different streaming services to do so, you risk some attrition in your fan base.
At a certain point, you got to be like, how much money is the league making and how much money is too much money that we're sacrificing the product? To his point, I mean, there's games all the time. And I heard a great argument from Gruden this week talking about these Thursday night games. They've been shit for a long time.
Terrible.
There's no reason that we should have those games. Not only from the fans' perspective, you don't get to see the full scale of what the offenses are able to do. The game plans aren't as detailed. The prep isn't as much. But from the physical standpoint, you're seeing 2 groups of football teams that are lacking in physical preparation as well. And what does that do? It bleeds into the next week, and it bleeds into the next week. These short weeks have an impact. It's like we had a sleep study. We had a sleep scientist come to Oregon and talk to us. And they were like, if you have one bad night of sleep, or if you drink and then you have a bad night of sleep, it affects you for 16 days of training. I'd be interested to hear what the scientists have to say about this Thursday football shit. And as for the 2 Monday night games, if it's going to be bad, let me just focus on one game.
But that's the flip side. We talk about how bad the Thursday night games are. Well, you had Monday night. You had extra day of rest last night, and those 2 games were awful.
Yeah, well,
bad teams.
It was a heavily mismatched matchup in Minnesota. I didn't. I obviously was more tuned into the Chicago game than I was the Vegas game, but my parents were actually at that Vegas game. They honored some OG Raiders.
Oh, nice.
They were at the game. It was a shame it ended that way. That was a bad call. Bad call there on that Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, terrible
throwaway.
Call. Yeah, terrible.
You can't call that in that situation.
Back to over. Do you have to be concerned about oversaturation? Probably, but not yet.
Okay.
I don't think
hit the tipping point.
We're not at that point yet.
Okay.
I mean, because you talk about the streaming, that's kind of the wild, wild west now. It's not, people haven't settled on, I'm old school. I have cable and streaming because I like to change the channels on the cable. I don't care what anybody said. I don't care what anybody said.
We all knew that, right?
But wait, on the streaming, the streaming, it's hard to change the channel and go from game to game.
You got to back out of this app, go to the other app.
Right. Whereas the cable, just change the channel. Yeah. So is it not easier?
My fiance was saying her grandpa has to have someone come help find the game for them when he wants to watch.
No, I'm not at that point. But I can find a game.
But like you're alienating.
My dad, I have to tell my dad.
Yeah,
my dad calls me up and he says, "Where's the game?" And I go, "Dad, you have it over here. It's on this."
You got to press home. You got to go to apps. You got to go to Prime.
But here's the other thing: if you're watching,
I don't want to do that though.
you got to admit it's harder to change the channels.
Yes.
And they got to figure out.
That's
100% in agreement with
and
you.
here's inventing cable and making it just more difficult now.
Well, here's the other thing: it is becoming cable.
Yeah.
All these they're bundling together. It's becoming cable again.
Yeah.
And somebody predicted that would happen a while ago. Somebody here told me that. And I said, you're right. It's becoming cable again. Until they figure out streaming where you can go bing, 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 it's never going to be the same. And you can't do that. If you go, like, let's just say you had a Thursday and there was a college football game on your streaming, you're watching it on the Disney app or whatever, the ESPN app, and you want to go back to the NFL on Amazon. How are you flicking the chat? You go from app, out, in, out, in, out. You can't do it.
Like you used to be able to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So figure that out. Hey, here. I'm giving you I'm giving everybody in streaming an idea and a way to start fixing this thing. Make it easy.
Yep. People want easy.
I'm trying to think of like the best way. If like the remote itself had almost this options on it.
It's like when you open your iPhone and you can be like, I want to go to Instagram, I want to go to Twitter, I want to go to Discord, I want to go to Facebook. You can click any of those icons. I shouldn't have to navigate a menu. It should be right in front of your face when you
do you have cable?
No. I have YouTube TV.
No. Okay, I have
YouTube
cable.
TV is what I have.
I have cable and I have my app. So on Thursday, if I want to watch the college game and the NFL game on Amazon, I do have the way to go from back and forth to the cable to input. You input in and out.
He's got to change inputs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even when you go back from cable to the Amazon, it says resume where you were watching or start over again. No, I want to resume where I'm watching. Just leave it alone.
Yeah. It's only going to get worse is the problem, I think, at this point.
Let's talk about these games.
These games, though. Falcons 15-9
points.
Vikings win 30-12. The Falcons one's probably a little bit more interesting to me just because the Vikings, like, we know.
They blew the Gallarhorn over and over and over.
Skull. But the Falcons, Kirk still did not look good, right? Kirk threw a bad pick to start the second half. He finished the game 11 of 17 for 112 yards, a big portion of that coming off of a blown Jack Jones special, biting on a double move.
We could have thrown that pass.
Yes, which was about as wide open as you'll get in the NFL. One touchdown, one interception, 78.6 pass rating. But just like watching, it was like same old Kirk. It was just that he's playing probably the worst defense he's faced in a month and a half. So are we anywhere close to buying back into the Falcons, or is it just probably too little too late?
No, it's too little too late.
Did you guys probably didn't see the post-game interview? You probably went to bed.
I was a bed crying.
Okay. Post-game interview with Kirk. He seemed lost, shaken, not confident in himself. And I'm concerned from that standpoint because when a guy starts doubting himself, he's done.
Yep. It's like getting water in your ship. Like it doesn't stop. There's a hole somewhere and we're running out of planks.
Down you go.
For the Falcons, we knew that it was going to be, you're going to go as far as Kirk Cousins allows your football team to go. He was the spark plug in this offense that was supposed to take them to new heights. Obviously, last year we could easily sit there and blame the quarterback, and it wasn't perfect. They've got skilled players. They've got good coaches. They have a good staff from the head guy to the offensive coordinator. Kirk Cousins had to be perfect this year for this Falcons team to have a chance to make a run at it. He hasn't been perfect, and I think that's about as simply as I can put it. And he's just not right. I don't think it's going to be coming back anytime soon, which is why I've been kind of banging the table for Penix, get some juice in there, get some young life in the fold.
There's two things that just about Kirk right now when you watch him play that I just don't think are ever coming back, and just bring that offense to its knees because – when you don't have them, you're just behind the 8 ball in the NFL.
Strength.
One is arm strength. You saw in the interception, he can't step into the throw. That thing was hanging there forever. It's a 10-yard throw in a window that should have been hittable. Probably, I'd say all but like 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the NFL. That's like, even in that scenario, they're getting it in there.
We don't have to name them.
And then you see the rush lanes of the Raiders last night. They have no gap integrity. They don't care. They know Kirk's not breaking outside the pocket. They can just attack and pin their ears back. Any single true pass opportunity, 3rd and long, they're just getting after it. I mean, even like earlier downs, they don't even care. And that puts your O-line in a tough spot when they don't have to have rush integrity. They can just create chaos.
And his eyes have come down. He's not standing there going through progressions. His eyes have come down.
He's the king of not taking a sack, but that ball's at a foot of a wide receiver.
Yeah.
10 yards downfield.
Yeah,
Like 5 yards downfield.
He's shaken. But you also have to look at it from this standpoint. And you know this. Quarterbacking is more than just getting in there and playing quarterback and throwing it around. You got to handle the huddle, handle the play calls, handle all that.
Leader.
Is Michael Penix ready for that yet? And this team is still in the playoff hunt. I mean, what's their schedule the next 3 weeks? It's not brutal. And
Giants, Commanders, Panthers. It's very easy.
Whether
from a relative perspective.
But the other side of that is if Tampa Bay beats Dallas, their next two after that are the Saints and the Panthers at home.
They have an easy.
So if they win Sunday or is it Sunday night or Monday night? It's that they play the.
I think it's Sunday because the Packers play Saints on Monday.
Yeah, they play Sunday night against the Bucs and Cowboys in Dallas. If they win that game, they're winning the division. Yep. So why don't you maybe go to Penix?
You would say, is Penix ready to take on the onus of being the leader in that building? And I would say, it doesn't matter. I mean, I understand what it's like being in a room where you feel like you're being held back by the catalyst of your offense. And when you get somebody in there, you're going to do everything you can in your power to make sure that you are on your P's and Q's. You've dotted your I's, crossed your T's, and you're going to play with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. You get a guy like Penix in there at this point in the season. Who knows? What's the worst that can happen? He looks like Kirk Cousins.
He can't look any worse.
What's the best that can happen?
Right.
Michael Penix goes.
I get it. He can't look any worse.
He may not light the world on fire, but he can light up a room maybe, and that'll be a big time help for this Falcons offense.
Who's their game this week?
They play this upcoming week. They play the Giants.
So this would be the week. This would be the week you make the change.
Yeah.
If you were going to make a change, it's this week because then it's the Commanders after that. So you make a change this week.
You need it. You'd like to get at least a warm up game before because the Commanders game is basically if you have any chance, that's it. Right.
So maybe they make the change this week. I tell you what, I would sit here and say no, even as bad as he played. But watching him after the game, I think he seems shell shocked. He thinks like he's done.
All right, the other game, just to touch on real quick, Bears-Vikings. Obviously, the Vikings win going away 30-12. Not much from the Vikings side. It wasn't a banner Sam Darnold game, but they put up 30 nonetheless. So this Vikings offense obviously still a house.
They ran the hell out of the football.
Caleb Williams, though.
Are you worried about him?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm worried about the entire
Are we
building.
sitting down? Because T-Bags came in the end of that game. Threw a nice little swing screen.
You can hit me with
there was 30 seconds
At the end of the day,
left.
you, me, and our mamas, we all wrote Bryce Young off, and Bryce Young looked pretty darn good for a few weeks there. At least we know that it's in there. Well, hear me out. He's the number one pick. He's in a franchise that, in my opinion, is broken in its current state. Ryan Poles has a 14-game losing streak on his record, and now he's got an 8-game losing streak, the two longest losing streaks in Bears history. This is a group that has said more than they've done. They haven't set their group up, including their number one pick, for success, albeit everybody in the media, including myself, was like, hey, this is a great situation for a rookie quarterback because of the receivers and blah, 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 blah.
Talent-wise, I still think it is. I mean,
I think it's a good situation, but there's relative to the other number one picks. Yes.
Yeah, that's like number one picks usually walking into as bad a situation.
There's bad and then there's not as bad.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they're at in Chicago. There are a million things I could go on here and rant and rave about, but the team is not good enough. They haven't played well enough for me to waste my time talking about it. It pisses me off. I question what their mission statement is inside the building, how they're looking to construct this roster moving forward. And quite frankly, I don't have faith in this organization to make the right moves moving forward. And it's obvious to me that there are haves and have-nots in this league, and a lot of it starts at the top in these buildings. And they haven't gotten it right. And that falls on everybody. That falls on, from all the way to Virginia McCaskey down to, the person that picked Torrey Taylor up when he got drafted at the airport. You know what I'm saying? Everybody is to blame. I'm not questioning toughness. I'm not questioning talent. I'm questioning a plan. And that has been something that we can say year in, year out about the Chicago Bears. And it's frustrating as a former Bear, somebody who gave my body up in my youth for this franchise, I would have fully expected them to figure it out by now, and they haven't. So I think that their offseason to-do list just got even longer, and unfortunately, it may include getting a new general manager.
Well, and obviously, the one guy that you're looking at, Caleb Williams. I mean, like that's the rest of the season. Is Caleb? Can he show development? 3.27 average time to throw yesterday. You know, even when the offensive line holds up.
Hey, can you guys keep him down back there? We're doing a show in here. Hey, yo. Can you guys keep it down a little bit? We're doing a show. Thanks.
That only gives Williams, like when he does have time, it almost seems like he'll hold the ball till whenever the pressure comes, almost regardless. It seems like in the pocket, and it's not really. It hasn't improved. It just hasn't improved.
It when I watched him last night, there were a couple things. You know, holding the ball, the spinning around. This isn't USC. It's still doing that stuff.
That's such a tired quote. I'm so tired
it isn't
of saying it's not.
It's USC. Not USC.
It's not.
He plays like it's USC.
Dude, the guy is under fucking fire every play. Every single play.
He allows a lot of the fire.
They have it's gross negligence across the board. And is Caleb perfect? No. Is he great? No.
There are things about like when you see him on the sideline acting like he got shot in a drive-by. Do you seriously?
That was
he could be internally bleeding.
Overly dramatic.
He was. Come on.
We don't know what he's going through. This is the same people that called Jay Cutler soft when he was on the bike in the NFC Championship. Little did they know his fucking hamstrings hanging off his bone.
But the bottom line is there are too many. After the game. He was talking again about your body taking hits like a car crash and all this. Do you ever hear other quarterbacks say that?
No,
you don't. They just go out and take them.
Quite frankly, I don't listen to other quarterbacks the way that I listen to Caleb Williams because they're not.
You're not concerned at all for Caleb Williams.
I'm concerned for his health.
No, you're not concerned about the way he plays.
I'm concerned for his mental. I'm concerned, obviously, with some of the accuracy issues. But one thing I'm not concerned with is his playmaking ability behind the line of scrimmage. It's what makes him special. I truly believe that. When he's running around, spinning, that's.
I worry about him operating the offense.
What he's doing there is, I think, in my opinion, elite level stuff.
I mean, the throw he made at the end of the game, when you sit there and you go, "Oh my God, that's," and he made two of them. Actually,
it's not good.
No, two of them were great.
No. Yeah. The throw to Keenan Allen over the middle with zero people occupying the middle of the field. I understand the gripes. I understand where people are like going to be frustrated. But there's a guy in Caleb Williams who has elite traits and, in my opinion, competitive toughness. And in my opinion, also through what I've heard him say, he doesn't throw people under the bus. And I've seen it time and time again in Chicago. And I'm glad that our quarterback of the future is not one of those people that's pointing fingers externally.
I just think the timeline for Caleb is different than what a lot of people build him as. I never thought, I thought he was a guy that honestly you could even sit year one and like that.
And you did talk about that.
That he was not, from what he played at USC and that offense and the style of football he played was not readily transferable. That it was just, you're going to have to go through some growing pains. And for them to like put their eggs in their basket the way they did this year, trade for Keenan Allen to spend $23 million in cap space, it was like, this was not the year to put this much pressure on it. And then obviously, like, when you put that much pressure on, any backslide feels like the world is falling. You know, the sky is falling. So I think they put too much pressure on him as a fan base, as like in terms of expectations, and from starting him out the gate. You just look at what he looked like early on in the season. He could have benefited from what Drake May went through in terms of just put the other guy out there. It might look awful, but we are not playing for the season. And I think you've set him, maybe not set him back, but not developed him as much as you could have in year one because of everything that's
I'm
going to develop him.
Yeah, but I'm a big believer. You put your kid in there and let him play. He's going to find, and every quarterback I've ever talked to in my entire life has told me I learned more playing in one game than I did sitting and watching in an entire season. Right. And so if the psyche of the kid, everybody always goes back to David Carr. David Carr, he was ruined by the Texans. He was sacked 76 times. David Carr was ruined by David Carr. Yeah. You know, and David Carr probably would tell you this to this. I don't know if he would ever admit it. The Carrs usually don't admit that thing. But if he was from what I was told by people, he was leaving at 5:00 And that was the end of the day for him. And you can't do that. If Caleb would, Anthony Richardson had to sit him down. Why? Not because of him, checking out of that game or whatever. It's because he wasn't showing up.
Habits.
Yes.
Habits.
And
I don't know what Caleb's habits are.
If Caleb's habits are good and this is what you have, then you have a problem. If Caleb's habits are bad and this is what you have and it's all part of the big picture, then it's the team's problem.
I think it's a toxic.
But playing doesn't.
Such a toxic environment for.
It was the greatest environment in the world before the season.
No, well, that's for people that are excited about a change because it's been so toxic that they get one sense of hope and they are over the moon about it, myself included. I needed to pump the brakes. I probably should have, and I apologize for getting so damn excited about this team year after year. But man, oh man, wholesale changes. Bring somebody in who can get a roster of badass non-talkers and let them go play football. There are a lot of superstars in this league you don't hear a peep out of, and those are the guys that tend to be on teams that are having success.
That's why I would love for them to turn the keys over, or not love to as a Packers fan, but just with the state of that organization to someone like a Mike Vrabel, who is truly a
football
top-down sort of. It starts with him, and he has a vision. He has a plan for what they're going to be. And they will fall in line beneath him. Someone who's done it already and shown that they can do that. I don't want another new coach who could possibly, offensive coach who gets his OC is going to be vastly important, right? But I think he did a good job of identifying talent in Tennessee at that position, whether it was LaFleur, whether it was Arthur Smith. Those guys obviously went on to have success as their OCs.
Then there were stories of friction between him and LaFleur and him and John Robinson. I mean, look,
every building has friction,
but a lot of friction. But look, I think Mike Vrabel would be good for any team because he would no nonsense, none of that.
Or Brian Flores. But here's someone who would set the tone. Someone who will set the tone and be able to tell ownership, I set the tone. Would be able to do that.
Here's what you have to do with the Bears, because we all talk about how great it was before the season. What Bear has played better this year than he did a year ago?
Gervon Dexter.
Not there now. He's hurt.
That was probably the only one.
Yeah. Because Johnson hasn't.
Not Montez
Sweat hasn't.
Montez Sweat.
The offensive linemen haven't. The receivers certainly have. DJ Moore's not better than he was a year ago.
I know.
The Swift has gone in the opposite direction from, and they paid him. Who's better? That's why I always ask myself, whenever you sit and evaluate a team and you say, should the coach be fired? What players are better?
Darnell Wright has gotten better. He's had some bad weeks, but he has gotten better throughout the course of the season.
Better to the point where you thought he should be?
Guys who were rookies last year are the only two.
But he's better.
That's worrisome.
But he's better. Is he better to where you thought he would be? That's the question. Is he improved to the point you thought he would improve to? And the answer to that is no. Nobody.
Definitely
Dexter's the only one.
I thought Tevin Jenkins would be so much better.
Tevin Jenkins was supposed to be a man eater.
Yeah, I thought, their line.
Is Cole Kmet better? No, Cole Kmet's not better. Nobody's better. And so when you look at it, it's always, when you look at a team, it's always the coaching. If guys aren't getting better,
yeah. Which is why I believe you don't inherit anybody from this staff on the new one. I don't care. I don't care if they're washing T-shirts.
That's not debate.
I don't care if they're washing T-shirts for your team, cleaning jerseys. I don't care if they're get them all out.
I'm a big believer in clean it all out and start all over.
Get them all out.
And I can relate this to Jacksonville. Jacksonville needs to clean it all up and start all over again. And I go back to that roster. Who's better? Who's better than they were a year ago? You got to pick and choose to find guys. That tells you it's the staff, it's the organization. You need fresh blood in there.
All right, we take a quick break after that. Going to get to our Goldilocks segment.
I like your rants.
Right for this.
It's a team almost too good to be true.
You guys ain't ready for us.
Kick your game day off right as the Tops team tackles all the biggest headlines around the league.
Who's got two thumbs and loves this next segment?
Sunday mornings on CBS Sports Network.
All right, guys, now it's time for the Goldilocks segment brought to you by Travis Matthew, apparel designed for confidence and comfort no matter where the day takes you. We've got Pete Prisco's power rankings, and it pisses me off because there's so many NFC North teams up there.
But one.
Except for one team. And I'm not going to talk about them again, maybe until about 5 minutes from now.
You look it up.
You know what? Teams ranked too high. I'll start it
The
off.
Bears are like me. We're always looking up.
Let me go through the top 10 and bottom 5 because I know where you wanted to go. Number 1, new team atop, but it's an old team. Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles at 2, Buffalo Bills at 3, Detroit Lions 4.
I'm back in the saddle again. Joe Tooney.
There you go.
Vikings 5, Packers 6, Steelers 7, Ravens 8, Broncos 9, Commanders round out your top 10. Bottom 5, Jags back in the bottom 28, Titans 29, Pats 30, Giants 31, Raiders 32. Those are your top 2.
And by the
picks.
way, I flipped the coin on the Raiders and the Giants.
I almost went Raiders too low because I think the Giants are worse, but we have more interesting teams to talk about. And Kyle,
Teams ranked too high. I don't even know where they're ranked because, they move every week.
but if they're not 32, they're too high.
Chicago Bears are ranked too high at 23. I think there was a rounding error. It should have been 32 because the way that they looked last night and the way that they've looked. I remember after that Hail Mary game, I said, I don't know if they're going to win another game. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I said, they're cooked. I don't know if they're going to win another game. I could just see it on the faces of these football players for the Chicago Bears. Way too high at 23. You're not giving enough credit to the 9 teams that are below them.
Look at those 9 teams below them.
There are 2 teams. Well, the Bears have lost 8 straight. There are 2 teams with longer losing streaks in the NFL right now, which is very difficult to believe. But the Giants and Raiders.
Well, they should play. They should play in the toilet bowl.
Well, the toilet bowl's this week. Jacksonville plays at the Raiders.
Well, you know what? Don't even give them a toilet. Just give them a parking lot to piss in.
Yeah, and the winner of that loses because you don't want to win that game.
Yeah, it's hard not to agree with Kyle on this one because when you lose 8 straight games, and now their schedule we've discussed difficult, and they've hung tight with. They hung tight with the Packers, Bears, not Bears, Packers.
We don't
Vikings,
have the same stat.
They hung tight with the rest of the NFC North for 3 games, and
Well, who below them are they worse than?
Everybody.
I think the Browns and the Saints at this point.
The Browns, come on.
Browns will beat the Bears.
But it's more to belabor the point that
Looking cool.
Chicago stinks, which I'm not gonna.
This is an opinion piece, okay? Let me have my opinion.
Well, this is my opinion. Wrote the damn thing.
You said flip a coin for the bottom 2 teams. I say there's 4 teams. You could just spin a dreidel, and they're all on there. You know what I'm saying?
All right, my team that's too high, and it kills me to do this because, well, I thought they were the number 1 team a week ago, but I think at number 4, the Detroit Lions are too high right now because this is not the Detroit Lions anymore. It's just not. They've lost everyone. And specifically this past week, Aleem McNeil, David Montgomery, and Carlton Davis. The 2 guys kind of holding your smoke and mirrors defense together in Aleem McNeil and Carlton Davis, your best defensive lineman and your best cornerback, being out. Aleem McNeil for the season with an ACL, Carlton Davis through at least some playoff games, 6 weeks with the jaw injury. It's like they have they're the Bengals right now. They're almost indistinguishable from the Bengals at this point because
a lot of points given up.
They're going to give up 30 plus every single week at this with what they're throwing out.
I agree. But
unfortunately,
again, you can't drop them. Yes, but they could still end up with the 1 seed.
They could. I don't think I don't see how though, because they play the Vikings. I don't see how they beat the Vikings at this point.
The Vikings win out.
They might even lose to the 49ers.
If the Vikings win out, they're the 1 seed.
Right? Yes.
I had the same too high as you, and I saw that you had the Lions. I kind of want to let you whip, and I could just it gives me another opportunity to make fun of the Bears. So I did it.
Look, I get it. I could drop the Lions down, but I think they've earned the right to stay there until we see them just get totally beat to death.
And I think their offense, Dave Montgomery, awesome player. They're still put up 30. They'll still be a great offense. That's not taking them from the realm of where they are.
Away from their inside the tackle short yardage run.
But it's going to have impact, especially when they're the 4th down kings. And is Vaki going to take over the reins?
Yeah.
Especially when they're like so many short yardage 4th downs they convert with David Montgomery. So it is going to impact them. It's not tiny, but it's specifically the defensive injuries that are just.
It's the defense. It's the defense.
Impossible to overcome at this point.
Losing Montgomery they can overcome that. Losing the defense is so hard.
Yeah. All right. Who's too low?
Team ranked too low. the Los Angeles Rams. Can we pull up this list here, Harry? Shout out to Harry, our guy in the control room.
You shouted out everybody in the control room a little while ago.
Well, they were being loud. They were shouting in the control room. This is, it says right there on the wall, studio, blah, 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 blah. That means keep your damn voice down when we're recording. Okay, number 11, Los Angeles Rams. They lead the NFC West. They're going to be in the NFC West championship game against the Seattle Seahawks in the final week of the season. Sean McVay's got these guys rolling. Matt Stafford is somebody I have the utmost in faith in. And obviously, their group on the defensive front, they've kind of gotten some teeth here recently. I know they gave up a bajillion points to the Buffalo Bills in that win, but at the end of the day, they can get after the passer a little bit. They can score at will offensively. They can do it in a number of different ways. I just feel like this Rams team is poised to make that run at the right time. And we know when you're healthy at the right times and when you gain momentum at the right times, great things can happen. Couple that with McVay and Matt Stafford. Look out.
I worry about the back end. I worry about the secondary. I mean, across the board.
It's going to be a shootout regardless. Yeah. In any of these games that they're going to be in, it will be a shootout.
And be careful this week against the Jets. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
That's a long trip against the Rodgers, who's starting to feel himself. Adams had 200 yards in the second half. Wilson, they can just be careful this week. But I'm with you. I love what Sean McVay has done.
I do too, but I'd almost disagree in that I'd be more scared to play the Bucs, who are behind them right now.
Me too.
At number 12, just because they at least can put together a defensive, like they have the talent,
safeties back
to rise above. Yeah, obviously they're hurt right now, but they have the talent to rise above come playoff time and play a better game than they've showed on paper. I just don't see the Rams. I don't see that defense ever when they face a team like the Lions, a team that really has a team like the Eagles, which we obviously saw. Like, I don't see them showing up. I just don't see them showing up.
The top of the power rankings, I wrote about the Bucs being the team nobody's going to want to play in the playoffs, in large part because the defense, Winfield will be back. Mm-hmm. Whitehead might be back, and they need those two back there. They haven't played all year with the corners together. They're back now. Tyke Smith is playing the nickel where he should have been playing. You got Dean back. You got McCollum playing great on the other side. And then Cansey has changed the front. Yep. Cansey wasn't there for the first 7 weeks or whatever it was of the season. And now he's changed the front. He needs to be doubled at times. You can't double them all. Vita Vea, Diaby can rush the passer. I think that's the biggest difference in that team is getting Cansey back.
Well, now you've got
my team that's too low. I'm going to go with the team that's number 2 because I think they should be number 1, Philadelphia Eagles. There's things I said about them that I said I worried about them and why I thought they were behind the Chiefs last week. They answered wholesale. Can they close out games? One of the best game closing out drives I've ever seen in NFL history. 10 minutes, 29 seconds to end it. Can they get this passing attack on track? They just simplified it. Let's just go one-on-one on the outside. That's fine. Let's throw it up to A.J. Brown. What a concept. They go for almost 300 yards through the air. Jalen Hurts' best passing output all season against, not a great Steelers secondary, but a good Steelers defense. At that point, they are the best team in terms of just talent-wise right now. At this very moment, they are the most talented team in the NFL.
All right, and now
But again, part of me with the Eagles, and I'll give you the Eagles. I mean, you can make a case for the Eagles being the first. Part of me with the Eagles is it's almost like they did what they did last week because they let everything else bother them.
Yeah, they proved
They bother them.
They need to be the underdogs.
But if that bothers you, that's a bigger issue. Yeah. If you allowed all that talk and all the stuff, people making a big deal of it, to bother you to the point where you're going to go feed the ball to the guy who was complaining about it, then it's an issue. Then they're fragile.
Yeah. Maybe he should talk shit about his teammates every week.
Right? You saw the offensive lineman show Mailata. No, we don't want to talk about that. We don't care.
So you guys made great points about the Buccaneers, and your write-up is always awesome. But this week about the Buccaneers, it was especially great. And I've said every week that they're pretty much just right or too low. And I said they're going to keep winning and they're going to keep climbing the rankings, which is why I have them just right. My Goldilocks zone for the power rankings is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And just like this Travis Matthews shirt I've got on right now, I just know I'm in the right spot with the right thing on me.
The waffle
grill. The Buccaneers, they got the right thing on them. They've got some badasses on that offensive line. They've got a salty dog at quarterback. They've got a defensive coordinator and the head coach that can really frustrate people with some of the things they're doing. To your point, they're going to be getting healthy at the right time. And I just have faith in Liam Cohen and the way he's able to diagram some of this stuff, get people in the right situation to have success offensively, and then to go blow out a team the way that they did this past week. I love it. I love the Buccaneers. And I mean, I've been saying it, they're going to climb every week. So when I say Goldilocks zone for the Buccaneers, yeah, they could be higher. I'm happy with where they're at because we all know where they're going.
They were my pick to win the division. And I love the way this team is made up. You know, you mentioned the offensive line. Barton's getting better. I mean, they're starting to run the ball significantly better than they did. Bucky Irvin's been great. McMillan, you know, he was the best receiver at Washington 2 years ago, and he's starting to – you see what he can do now that he's back playing again. I love this. I wish Godwin were there. If Godwin was in the lineup and you had those three guys together on the field at the same time with Baker throwing it in that running game, man, they'd be hard to beat. But, you know, defensively, one major flaw on defense – the other linebacker, other than Levante David, cannot cover at all. Whether it's Brett or whoever, and he was hurt, whoever they put in there, they believe it or not, they missed Servassier Dennis. He was going to be the cover linebacker. So those are the little things that you know, like for example, against the Lions the other day, they were without their linebackers. What did the Bills do? They picked on the linebackers in coverage. Quan Alexander can't cover anybody anymore, and they picked on him. And so that's the one flaw on the Bucs. But I love that team. I love the makeup. And Baker plays with the chip on his shoulder.
It's the easiest path to success. It's why so many Super Bowl teams thrive on those tight ends or slot receivers, whether it was Cooper Kupp for the Rams, whether it was Gronk for the Pats, whether it was Travis Kelce for the Chiefs. It's like when you can pick on a linebacker, it's easy. It's easy football. Those are the easiest routes to throw.
By the way, they would, I think right now they would end up, they'd be the 3 seed, and they could be the 3 or 4 seed. If they're the 4 seed, and let's just say they played the Vikings as the 4, or the Lions, the beat up Lions as the 4, they're going to win that game probably at home. They should. They beat the Lions already this year when they were home.
Yeah, that's actually scary for the Lions' perspective.
By the way, the Bucs beat the Eagles too.
That'd be awful.
I know. That's like the last thing you want to do.
The Bucs beat the Eagles too.
Yeah. What did I say last week? The Detroit Lions fans are going to plan a purchase of one of these two things: Super Bowl parade tickets or pitchforks and torches. And it's looking like they're not going to be going to StubHub. They're going to be going to Home Depot. You know what I'm saying?
I wanted to see your opinion. Yesterday, we did
buying stem cells.
I did a hit with Leger.
Hey, give me some.
This is going to infuriate you, but I did a hit with Leger, and Jim Nantz on Sunday said the winner of this game is America's going to take over for the Cowboys as America's team, the Lions and the Bills. Mm-hmm. Okay. And Leger went on and said why the Lions are now America's team. And I said, they're not even the Midwest team.
Yeah.
The Packers are.
Yep.
The Packers are. If you go to a game in any part of the country, the Packers fans flood there.
They had to go Pack Go in Seattle.
Yeah. Okay. The Lions
fans are awesome.
Look, and I'm not dissing the Lions fans, but they're not the same as the Packer fans, and they're not. And part of that is because the Pack have had so much success, or in the '60s, and they had that carried over generations, and it's different. It's not the same, but they're not.
And it's like a very America's
team. They're the Packers. The Packers are more of America's team than the Lions are.
How about all? You know what? I believe in football karma. And I believe fans, and I'm not saying like these guys got injured because of karma. I'm just saying the result of this season, when you look back on it and take a look at social media and listen to these Detroit Lions fans throughout the course, and you can back me on this. Yeah. Detroit Lions fans have been insufferable this season. They have bullied football teams all year. It's been awesome to watch, but I wonder what they're going to say now. I wonder what happens when they do potentially get knocked off early in the playoffs. It's just, less. I would say less is more.
Memo to you.
Less is more.
Because I know you're new to the media business. And they're all insufferable.
No, they're not. They're not. They're really not.
How are Steeler fans to you these days?
Steeler fans are only mean to me because I work with you.
Steelers fans are pretty bad.
They just hate you.
Every fan base hates.
I got nothing against Steeler fans. My first primetime football game, we dominated the Pittsburgh Steelers at the artist formerly known as Heinz Field. So I got a lot of good memories about the black and the gold.
Look, nothing but respect for the Steelers fans because I think they're great. But boy, man, they can be nasty at times. They come at you. The Lions fans this year, you're right, they've been nasty. But every fan base, Seattle fans used to come at me when I used to kill Russell Wilson, and I mean they're nasty.
I will say
and
Pittsburgh.
They use we've been so bad forever, and now we're great, and you guys can enjoy the effing basement. And I'm like, hold on, the Packers just went out there and shit on the Seahawks.
Well, they come at you because you're a bear.
Yeah, well.
I was in Pittsburgh for a wedding this year, and on a Saturday, walking around the city, home game on a Sunday, you just saw jerseys everywhere. Downtown Pittsburgh. It's like they go to war for their team, and that's how I feel like every city should be.
You know who I go to war for? My family, my daughters, and I want to be very I want to make you guys understand that I'm superstitious when it comes to taking care of the kids. Like, I was a baseball player, so I got weird superstitions. I'm like I got a little nuclear louche to my game as a dad. And I started, my wife's training for another marathon. She's an amazing runner, and she's fantastic. Yeah. And so now she leaves early in the morning. So I wake up and feed the little one. Our second daughter, Sloan, is 10 months old. And I'm really superstitious because when I first started trying to do it, she wouldn't take the bottle. And I thought it was like, I'm not doing it right. My technique's off. And like, I'm going to mess up the whole day because she doesn't get her food. But when I got this Travis Matthew long sleeve waffle shirt, I got to find out the name. I think it's a cloud shirt.
It's a cloud shirt.
Falls asleep on it.
Cloud shirt.
It's a cloud shirt.
When I go in there and get her out of the crib and I put her on my cloud shirt and I feed her, she nuzzles into me, man. It's the best feeling in the world. So I want to thank Travis Matthew for inventing this shirt because it's fantastic. It's the best, most comfortable, most loving shirt you can own. It gives your kids a hug and it gives your body a hug every time you wear it. Thanks for sponsoring the Goldilocks segment. This segment is brought to you by Travis Matthew, which is apparel designed for confidence and comfort, no matter where the day takes you, even if it's a rocking chair.
I'm waiting for my second box, by the way.
Oh yeah, on its way. This one, I don't have that one, so he could be mini me.
I think my daughter.
I can't tell you how many people said, "Oh my God, you had the same shirt on."
You guys rocked. Shirt jacket combo.
Like two hot chicks that walked into the party wearing the same dress. I gotta leave.
It was unbelievable. Did you get? I mean, everybody commented to me. They go, "Oh my God, you're wearing the same shirt as him."
Hey, it's a great shirt.
It's
probably the best shirt.
It might be one of the most comfortable shirts I've ever put on in my life.
And if you're somebody that's like self-conscious about your physique, you put this thing on and it makes you feel a little bit, I feel jacked in this shirt.
Yeah,
I've never been jacked. I feel jacked. All
right, we got to touch on my team real quick.
Do some nursing in.
I'm sorry.
That's good. I'm sorry. Seahawks. We don't have to touch on them.
That was organic.
I just think Seahawks at 15. They were top 10 last week. They obviously lost to a team higher than them in the top 10, but I think it's more than that. You saw that Geno Smith, without him, they are toast. And if he has to be limited, and obviously they got good news on him, or no like real big structural damage, but it's not as if he's going to be going out there and running for like 50 yards next week. And you're going to have to at times behind that offensive line. So I just think 15, that's on the outside, the playoffs looking in. Obviously, because only 14 teams make the playoffs. I think that's where the Seahawks end up, unfortunately.
So you think they're just right? I do too. I think they're in trouble. The schedule's
I know, Pete. It's your power rankings.
The schedule's tough.
It'd be weird if you didn't think they were just right.
Yeah, everything's just right in there.
Pete's like, I like that guy. Whoever wrote that article.
Who did?
Some sicko.
It gets filed at like 1:00 in the morning. So.
Thank you, Travis Matthew. Seriously, great partner.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. After that, going to get to our debate segment. Embrace debate.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
It's Gareth Bale. Ronaldo. Wonderful goal.
On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
All right, true or false? The Lions will not win the 1 seed in the NFC.
True. You go ahead.
They won't.
So, true.
True.
I guess the way that was worded.
Yeah, it's true. They're not going to be the 1 seed.
No. Too much going on there. Too much going on in Detroit.
So, yeah, they're 12-2. Eagles 12-2. Vikings 12-2. They obviously face the Vikings in Week 18.
So if the Vikings win out, it's as simple as they'll be the 1 seed. That's amazing.
And they have the Seahawks, Packers, Lions. So it ain't the easiest road.
No.
For the Minnesota Vikings. God, I hope the Packers beat them. All right. Would George Pickens playing have changed the outcome of the Pittsburgh-Philly game?
Yes.
No.
It may not have changed the winner or the loser, which I guess is the outcome, but the game looks different. It feels different when George Pickens is in there. Yes, it's called confidence and an absolute stud on the outside. It's clear to me that the game would have been different.
So let me ask you, is it an indictment of Russell Wilson that when Pickens isn't there and you can't just throw the ball up, that he's not effective?
It's an indictment of the talent. Their wide receivers stink outside him. Calvin Austin is a good player in the role he is. The role he is not a number 1 or number 2 even wide receiver. He's a gadget type of wide receiver.
Pretty good tight end, though.
He's a great number 3.
They're a pretty good tight end.
Solid tight end. Not a vertical threat tight end.
No, but Yeah, it's a little indictment of Russell.
They can't spread it around.
Deep talent, deep balls.
But that's all he does. He throws them up and hopes the guy goes and makes the play.
You don't have to look any further than Patrick Mahomes to know that deep balls are a product of the talent around you. When he had
100%.
Tyreek Hill, he was one of the most prolific deep passers in NFL history. When he lost Tyreek Hill, where have they gone? They've been non-existent the past few years.
But to Pete's point, they had to reimagine their offense and do things differently.
Yeah.
So
and he reimagined his offense and himself. And Russell Wilson didn't reimagine himself on Sunday.
be like telling Michael Jackson he can't dance on stage anymore.
Well,
You
let's
gotta
see what
just
he does.
say,
It's the
Okay, is Pickens back this week?
depends.
CBD. I mean, we don't.
These things
We're
are-
trying to predict George Pickens. He could be fully healthy.
Well, okay, but if he doesn't play this week, or if he plays this week and he struggles against the Ravens, then you got concerns.
Yes, the Ravens should be a defense that, with him playing, they should put up points. All right. Did winning the game against the Jaguars hurt the Jets more than help?
No.
Meaning from a draft prop. So
No,
they went from, they would have been drafting at,
Would they move a spot?
they would have been drafting 5. Now they're drafting 8.
I mean,
No, because the value is at the 1 and 2. Because if you don't,
I think 1, 2, 3, 4 is where you want to be. I feel very strongly that the top 4 picks are going to be the 2 quarterbacks, Travis Hunter and Abdul
Right.
Carter.
you think who is it?
Abdul Carter, the Penn State edge. I think
Micah
those
Parsons
4.
light.
Yeah, I think those 4 will come draft day be the consensus.
The kid from Michigan might end up in that top.
Graham,
Yeah,
Bro,
He's
that,
very
that
good.
guy from Penn State gives me
I would love
nightmares. And
him,
I'll
but-
never see him ever on a football
But I
field.
think-
He gives me nightmares.
I think it's
look,
Hunter and Carter are like,
Carter has the ability, but what are his numbers? They ain't great, are they?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked at him.
Yeah,
I just know
anyway,
he's.
but anyway,
I've seen
I get
the
it.
tape.
I get it.
I watched the tape. I don't look at stats. I'm not a stat nerd.
No,
Pete.
but you do like
kidding.
to see some production.
I am kidding. Yeah.
True.
So I agree, though. They weren't drafting top 4. They're honestly too good to even be. They'll win more games this year. So I don't think it's that big.
Well, for example, if Jacksonville was if somebody picked 3rd and took Travis Hunter, and Jacksonville was picking 4th, they're not taking Abdul Carter.
You don't think so? New GM.
They got 2 edge guys.
If I'm in there, I'm
They got
taking,
2 high.
if I'm working for the Jags, I'll draft him.
No, you're not
Just
taking.
because-
I'm putting Trayvon Walker at tight ends.
No, Trayvon Walker should
Such
be.
a beast.
Trayvon Walker should be playing inside. Is what he should be.
That's where I'm playing him. I mean,
When
it's a 3-4 technique.
You guys are talking draft position, and I'm thinking confidence. And winning games in the NFL is one of the hardest things to do. And if I'm on the Jets, I want to have the understanding that even with everything going on this season with the Jets, we can still win football games. And when it does turn over to a more prepared, maybe knowledgeable leadership group, we have won games in the past in bad situations. We're going to be better. There's going to be a lot of carryover in terms of players. I think it's a good thing.
And I've had this discussion with Sully. See if you agree with me and him talking about this. It doesn't carry over.
I think winning games matters.
It doesn't. He doesn't. He agrees with me. It doesn't carry over because I'll give you an example.
New staff.
Well-
in 95, the Jacksonville won a game at Cleveland or home against Cleveland late in the year, and Coughlin came out and he said, "Oh, it's going to carry over for next year." There was so much roster turnover and different guys on that team. How can it carry over?
You don't know if there's a guy on the Jets who maybe made a big play in that game that's going to increase
That's different.
his. That's what I'm talking
That's
about.
different. You're talking individually.
I'm talking individual guys.
And that could carry over in a loss. If an individual player
You're right.
makes himself better and he gains confidence, that carries over. I agree with you 100%.
Yes.
Winning, he could get that by losing too.
There were games we lost by 20 points in
But you
Chicago,
gained
but I
confidence.
wore somebody out.
and
I
you
was-
knew the next year, I'm
Yes.
taking that and carrying it over.
Yes.
That I agree with.
Yes.
But as a team winning, that doesn't carry.
No, it's not the same team next
No.
year.
Right.
Will the Tampa Bay Bucks make it to the NFC Championship game?
I'm going to say yes.
Ooh.
I'm going to say yes.
Well,
So-
let's map their path.
So their most likely path is that they are,
They would have to go through
let's say,
Philly.
3 seed at this point.
They
3
play the
seed.
sixth.
They would play
Green Bay.
Green Bay.
See, like I could see that being a ball game.
I think that'd be a hell of a game.
Oh,
I think that's who. I think they'd rather play They'd almost rather be the
play the
4
Lions.
and play the Lions.
oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or the Vikings.
So they're 3 Green Bay, and then after that, you're likely playing because the
If they're the
2
three,
seed.
the 2 would be the
either the
Lions.
Eagles or so you'll probably travel to either the Vikings or the Eagles probably at this point.
Bro,
wait.
if Baker Mayfield and the Bucs go to Philadelphia,
So then you're going to have to go to either Philly or
and
Minnesota.
beat the Eagles.
Right.
I don't know.
They beat
I
him
don't
in the
think
playoffs last year, and they beat him this year, and they beat him at.
I'm not counting Baker Mayfield out ever.
He can go win anywhere.
I'm going to say they won't. I don't think they will.
I just like
because they're going to play the Packers.
I like the idea of the Bucs doing it.
I think they lose the Packers, honestly.
It could happen.
See, that's the thing. They could lose in the first round, or they could make that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the Packers could lose in the first round, or they could make the run.
It's
All it takes is one or two bad Jordan Love throws.
I really just do think that should the Rams win the West, and then the wild card obviously stays the way it is right now, I think the only team that I don't think could make the NFC Championship game is the Commanders. That'd be very surprised if they make the NFC Championship game.
That would be the one.
That's the only, just because, not that they're not good, their path will be a monster.
Right.
It'll be either
they're
Vikings or Eagles, and then more likely than not, and then
they're not. No, but the rest, those other teams, they all can make a run.
Yeah. All right. Will Gerard Mayo be a one and done in New England?
No.
We haven't touched on it much, but his comments this week
Talked about
were
it.
weird as poop.
And he walked him back a little bit.
He said, so asked about Drake May not running in the end zone. He said, "You'll have." What was his exact quote?
He kind of walked him back the next day. Though.
My answer is no,
Let me find
He's
it.
coming back.
but he will for sure be on a razor's edge next year.
Yes, absolutely.
They don't want to waste 2 years of Drake May in that regard. And to your point,
Yeah,
Mike,
he said
you
you
can't
said
do those
it.
comments.
I didn't about Alex Van Pelt not letting Drake May run in the red zone. And then after that, apparently Alex Van Pelt said, "What are you talking about?" So a weird situation for sure. I think he will be one. I think he will be one and done.
You think so?
I think he will.
I don't.
Because I think Kraft, after seeing Belichick, and almost always knew that they were not going to get the guy they wanted as the head coach this year. And with Drake May, the way he's played, you could get the guy you want. And people will want the organizational stability that is New England also to go there as a head coach. I do think he'll be one and done.
I don't.
And just like when you have that kind of weird dysfunction this early on.
You did see that? Did you see the video of the Kraft sitting there, and Jonathan Kraft was talking to his father, and he made a comment about the play calling. They read his lips, and it looked like he was commenting on play call. So that's never a good thing. But I don't think they fire him. I think they'll go. I think I'm with you. I think they go in next season on.
I say, unfortunately, they're not going to fire him. And I've been saying the shit stinks all season, and not just the product on the field, but more importantly, the things that he says about his team.
Yeah.
And it rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you think about a player or a team, don't bring it out on Front Street.
I'm with you.
Keep it in house.
Don't say it.
What happened to the Patriot way?
That stuff. I mean, it almost feels like, and not to the degree, but oh gosh, why am I blanking on names? Who was the Browns head coach when they went 0-16? When it was just like, it was worse than
Kitchens?
No. The guy came from Cincy. Gosh, but it felt like similarly where it's just like you had things aren't going well. It was his first year, and it's like they went 1-15 his first year, and it went worse than they should have. And you had weird stories coming out about the locker room.
Who is that?
And then they're like, "Oh, we're going to bring him back," and then they went 0-16 next year, and it's like that's what this kind of feels like to me. Hugh Jackson. Yes, it feels like Hugh Jackson
called me Jake Long on my visit for 3 hours. He called me Jake.
Oh, that's terrible.
I was just
I love Long when he was in Cincy.
I've known Hugh Jackson a lot. I love Hugh Jackson.
He called me Jake for
but
2 hours.
He calls me my brother's name, Richie. I think.
But just like hints of organizational instability coming from the top that I don't think improve over time. Like we'll only get you're only sowing like hardened divisions in your coaching staff and the locker room that then will be exacerbated in the future years. That's what I worry about with what I've seen.
Yeah, they're marinating in their own shit right now.
He forget about football part of it. All the other stuff is kind of magnified who he is, I think. But you're right. You don't say that about your team. You don't call him soft. You don't come out and question your coach. It's always put the blame on somebody else and not me. That's what that sounds like. And
it's crazy coming from
a player,
a guy who played in New England. And it's the same kind of thing that I've had gripes about in Las Vegas with Antonio Pierce. Like some of the things that he said, not to the extent that Mayo has had it happen, but it's shocking to me in a league where guys that play feel like they know how to handle the guys that play well. Well, it's obvious that they don't know.
Well, plus they both came from places where the two coaches were disciplinarians.
Yes.
Coughlin and Belichick.
Yep.
And you didn't learn from that?
Maybe they'll learn the wrong lessons from that. We shall see, but I think he's gone. Did Josh Allen, final one here, secure the MVP with his performance against the Detroit Lions?
Yes. And people saying that Lamar Jackson tied it up against the Giants, they just don't understand what it's like to have to match production with a team like Detroit in Detroit. And while Lamar Jackson had a fantastic year and his season thus far has been better than his previous MVP years, that doesn't matter. It matters about who's the most valuable player in the National Football League, and that's Josh Allen right now. And it's obvious to me.
5 losses. Was it 2?
Yeah.
I mean, or is it 3?
3.
3. That's different. And they're going to run I think you look at the Bills' schedule, they should run the table. And that's going to tell you the difference right there. And yeah, if you want to talk about numbers, Allen's numbers were better than Lamar's numbers last year, right? Weren't they?
I'd have to look.
It was last year was,
I think
I can't believe it ended up being as lopsided as
I
it
think
was to
statistically,
Lamar,
when you look at the
voting-wise.
touchdowns and everything, his numbers were every bit as good, if not better, than Lamar's, and Lamar won it. But now Lamar had the better record. Now he has the better record, and his numbers are comparable, and he's carrying that team. So I think this is Josh Allen's moment. It's his moment to win it.
I think it's still neck and neck. Now, it won't be. I think Josh Allen, from like a pure voting perspective, did. From my objective, who I think was the most valuable player in the NFL this year, I think it's still neck and neck. There's 3 more games left.
Can you believe he was
wrap it
voted
up.
the most overrated player in the National Football League?
You know, it's funny because that was there was a guy who they did this thing before when I was there, and it's preconceived opinions that guys don't want to admit they were wrong about.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go back to it and they keep saying it. Well, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You got to admit you were wrong. Look, I was one of the few guys that was absolutely 100% right about Josh Allen, but I'm one of the few guys that was absolutely wrong about Will Levis. Okay. So admit you're wrong.
I was going to let you slide on Levis.
No, I was wrong about him. He's discombobulated and up there. He sees things that he doesn't need to see. And I think well,
he's playing like a bat. He's chirping at the wall.
Yeah, but they played off sonar.
Yeah,
you liked him too, didn't you?
I got one more debate question.
I did. Yeah.
Should we throw guys in jail that fumble the ball at the goal line? Straight to jail. Like they should have a
Jonathan
they
Taylor?
should have a small sensory deprivation isolation
I don't get
jail cell
What's the
in
point?
every stadium. You know they have a drunk tank where they bring people that fight and
Well, in
stuff.
Philadelphia, they used to have jail.
They need to have a little mini one for anybody that fumbles
I'm
the
with
football.
you. I don't get it. What's the point about taking the ball and not securing it until you go through the
Joe Burrow talking about this is embarrassing. You know, we stink. I think he was talking about maybe that play, the touchdown by the
It might have
defense.
cost them a play. It might have cost them a playoff berth. Right?
Very likely. I mean, it was one of the highest leverage plays of the weekend.
It was 20-7. That game's over. The way Bo Nix was playing, that game was over. And they win that game. Their schedule the next 3 weeks is a joke. They're going to make the playoffs. And as it turns out now, they're not making the playoffs. So one bad, dumb, stupid play, because that's what it was, cost them a chance to go to the postseason. Whew.
Oh, boy.
All right. There you have it. There's our show for today. We'll be back tomorrow. Jay Deuceable joins the show. We're doing Mailbag Wednesdays. Make sure to hit us up with your questions. Leave a 5-star review on Pod with your question. We'll for sure answer it on tomorrow's show. Until then, keep pushing.
Peace.